to jump into our formal program. Well, good morning, everyone. How are we feeling? Oh, how are we feeling? Amazing. Well, I'm going to get us up on our feet this morning. So if you're able to stand, I would love for you to stand in your seats right now. That'd be fantastic. So please go ahead and stand. So if you're at your tables, I just want you to stand up. And we know that yesterday and today, this past weekend, this month, we are celebrating International Women's Day and month. I want you to look at the woman that is next to your left or your right, and I want you to look at them and I want you to say that I see you. You are incredible. You are amazing. I am so happy to be here with you. You are enough, and you can do anything. Give yourselves a high five or a hug. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Amazing. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women Inspire 2026. Again, welcome to this incredible event presented to you by CASA Foundation. This is our 7th, can you believe, 7th anniversary. Please, let's get a round of applause. 7th anniversary of the forum. We are honored to have you join us this morning, and Women Inspire is proudly hosted in commemoration of International Women's Day, as we know is a global celebration to recognize the achievements of women and reaffirm our collective commitment to equity and inclusion. Whether you're joining us for the first time, can I see who's here for the first time? Just give me a show of hands. Oh, a lot of first-time people. Welcome. Welcome. Let's give them a round of applause. And if you are returning, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support and your commitment to this incredible organization. And this year, Women Inspire is centered around the powerful theme of give to gain. And I'll repeat that, give to gain. Aligned with the global focus of International Women's Day, and today is about more than inspiration. Today is about progress. When women support and elevate one another, the ripple effect is undeniable. And in fact, research shows that companies with greater gender diversity in leadership are 25% more likely to outperform their peers. Right? Yes, I heard a yes, absolutely. And that's not just a statistic, it's proof that when women lead, businesses, communities, and economies grow stronger. And today is an opportunity to lean into that momentum. You're going to hear powerful insights from remarkable leaders across industries, engage in meaningful conversations about advancing women in leadership, and connect with an incredible community of founders, professionals, and emerging change makers. I don't know about you guys in the room, but I feel like pinching myself because there's so many incredible people that are here. Amazing. And together, we're going to explore practical strategies that help women step into bigger leadership roles, expand access to opportunity, and strengthen the partnerships that drive real sustainable growth. So whether you're here to learn, to share your perspective, or to build new collaborations, my hope is that today you are going to leave feeling energized, empowered, and ready to give boldly. Because when women lift each other up, we know that we all gain. My name is Rochelle Gill-McCready. I'm the country manager of Zinzino Canada and the Ignite Her Coaching founder, and I am absolutely honored to be your MC for today. And before we begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land on which we are situated. We acknowledge we are on the unceded territory of the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. We recognize their long-standing stewardship and honor their deep spiritual connection to these lands. We pray for the wisdom to care for this land as they have, and to act with justice towards the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Thank you all for your attention. And I would like to deliver a few housekeeping rules. And so if this is your first time here to Liberty Grand, I want to share where the washrooms are. So where you actually registered, you're going to make a right-hand turn. You'll see a sign that says restrooms. You'll have to go down the stairs. We ask that all participants engage in respectful conduct throughout the day. Kindly silence your mobile devices to minimize disruptions during discussions. And please note that photography and videography will occur at this event. And if you prefer not to be photographed, please kindly inform one of the team. They can be found wearing their name badge. You will see the CASA Foundation individuals with their lanyards and their name tag. So let us all work together to ensure today is a positive and welcoming experience for all, and I appreciate everyone's attention so far. And we are now ready to jump into the first segment of today. So if you're ready, I want to hear you say yes. Are you ready? Yes. Oh, let me hear a bit more. Are you ready? Let me hear you say yes. Oh, one more time louder. Are you ready? Let me hear you say yes. Yes. Amazing. All right, so to kick off our event, I am honored to invite our first speaker to the stage, Dr. Olitoyin Oyelade. Dr. Olitoyin is President and CEO of CASA Foundation for International Development. She's an experienced financial leader and entrepreneur with over 23 years of experience and expertise behind her belt. Throughout her years of work, Dr. Olitoyin has dedicated her efforts to supporting entrepreneurship initiatives, youth development, and women's leadership. She has received numerous accolades, including the Women of Courage Award in Canada and the African Impact Leadership Award in New York. And Women Inspire has come into fruition due to Dr. Olitoyin's continued support and dedication of empowering women's leadership today. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Olitoyin Oyelade to the stage to deliver her opening remarks.
Good morning again, everyone. Good morning. I know it's a Monday morning, all right? But good morning. I want to feel the energy in the room, so it's great to have you all here. And happy International Women's Day. We'll keep saying that to ourselves, right? Thank you. Thank you all for coming again this morning. Thank you. The Honorable Charmaine Williams, Minister of Women, Social Economic Opportunity. MPP Alexa Gilmore, the Member of Provincial Parliament, Parkdale and High Park. MPP Andrea Hazel, who is on her way, the Member of Provincial Parliament for Scarborough. The Honorable Judy Sigro. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. All right. And that's the Member of Parliament, the House of Commons. That's for Humber Black River. And she's also the chairperson of the House Committee on International Trade for Canada. The Vice Chancellor of Yorkville University, all our distinguished speakers. I really can't mention everyone's name. It's so great to have you here today. Ladies and the gentlemen supporting us, you are welcome. It's such a joy, it's such an honor to have you all here this morning. With deep gratitude, I welcome you all. I welcome you today to Women Inspire 2026. Indeed, it's our 7th anniversary. In 2020, when we started the Women Inspire, nobody knew that we had the COVID-19 ahead of us. The program held on the 5th of March 2020, launched by the Minister Mary Ng, former Minister of International Trade for Canada. And the goal then was to bring everyone into the room and have us have women connect and have people choose mentors from the top women they found in the room and see how people could speak to their needs, like gaps in their lives, professionally, business-wise, entrepreneurship, on entrepreneurship, how to raise capital, and so on. The major gaps that women experience on a day-to-day basis. And that was a purpose. And they wanted the group to bring that together. And that's why we launched Women Inspire in 2020. Now, this is our 7th year. And so you can imagine how many of those women have been mentored. In this room today, we have, not in this room specifically, but over the years, we have about 950 that have gone through the various programs of the Women Entrepreneurship Exchange Program, sponsored generously by TD Bank. And so again, a shout out to TD Bank for being here, joining us again today, and making this happen. Thank you again. All right. Some of those women, at least about 69 of them, have received funding, grant funding, seed investments, all powered and sponsored in part by Scotiabank. So thank you again, Scotiabank, for joining us again today. We're glad you're in the room. We're proud that you're able to sponsor us. Thank you. Thank you. And so last year, I go to my speech now. Last year, we came together again around the powerful theme of accelerate action, focusing specifically on digital empowerment, recognizing that technology is a bridge to opportunity. And this year, we go even deeper. The theme for the International Women's Day for 2026 is Give to Gain. At first glance, it may sound paradoxical in a world that often tells us to accumulate, in a world that tells us to protect, to compete. We choose to declare something different, and that the pathway to true advancement is generosity. And that the fastest way to rise to live is to rise to lift others. And that women give intentionally. They must give intentionally. They must give strategically. They must give courageously so that communities can gain exponentially. Give to gain is not merely a slogan. It is a principle of leadership. When a woman mentors another woman, she gives guidance and she gains legacy. When a leader opens the door, she gives access and she gains impact for herself. When we invest in women's economic empowerment, we give opportunity, we gain prosperity for entire nations. This is a multiplier effect of women supporting women. And we know that when women are economically empowered, families become stabilized. When women are educated, communities innovate. When women lead, institutions transform. Giving is not a weakness. Giving is strategy. Giving is influence. And giving is nation building. In my journey through entrepreneurship, global partnerships, and ecosystem development, I have witnessed one powerful truth, that collaboration accelerates destiny. No woman succeeds alone. We stand on the shoulders of mentors, of partners, of policymakers, educators, and those who choose to believe in our dreams. And today we're surrounded by leaders who embody this truth. Today, these leaders give through policy. They give through advocacy. They give through education. And because they give, Canada gains. We all gain. But today is not only about those ones who you will be listening to on the stage today, the speakers of today. Indeed, we will listen to them. Indeed, they will share gems of wisdom. But it is about every woman in this room and the men that are here to support us, providing supporting services. And so I say this to you today, that the entrepreneur who is building quietly, to the executive navigating boardrooms, to the students daring to dream beyond the limitations, and to the mom balancing vision with responsibility, your contributions matter. Your voice matters. The generosity of your spirit matters, and your dreams are valid. So keep pursuing them. Keep pursuing them unapologetically. It is important that we do so. As we engage in conversations today, I challenge each one of us to ask, what can I give that will outlive me? Who can I empower that will multiply impact? And how can my success become someone else's starting point? Because when a woman aligns with the purpose of service, something extraordinary happens. We do not just gain individually, we transform collectively. So today, let us be the catalyst. Let us spark new collaborations, and let us ignite bold commitments. On behalf of CASA Foundation and the Board of Governors present here today, I particularly want to thank everyone for making it. It's early morning, and I know maybe we're about 10 minutes behind time, but thank you for showing up, because I know you believe in the power that you carry. For the men that are here, I know you believe in the power that we carry, and I know that's why you're here supporting us. So again, thank you for choosing to give so that all of us can gain. Today we celebrate our incredible partners. Thank you for being here. May this gathering inspire action, strengthen alliances, and propel each one of you to your next dimension of influence. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. Thank you. And before I step away, I'm just going to then introduce our goodwill remarks, the first remarks of the day. And so it's my profound honor to introduce to the stage again for goodwill remarks the Member of Provincial Parliament and our goodwill remarks speaker, who is the Honorable Charmaine A. Williams, who is the Associate Minister of Women, Social and Economic Opportunity. History remembers those who break ceilings, not for applause, but for access. As the first ever Black PC cabinet minister in Ontario, Minister Williams has not simply taken a seat at the table, she has actually expanded it. At CASA Foundation, we've been privileged to provide inputs into some of our ministry's programs that support women, and we look forward to continuing that collaboration. Before politics, Honorable Charmaine was already in the trenches. She was already in the trenches, restoring families, mentoring youth, and strengthening communities. Her goal of promoting economic security as a pathway to dignity and independence continues to guide our approach to public service. Ladies and our gentlemen, please make Honorable Charmaine Williams feel welcome as she comes up to stage. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How is everyone feeling after the time change? I know not only is it an early morning, which is fine, it's that 1 hour, and usually, any parents in the room, usually, right? I'm a mom, 5 kids myself, but usually time changes happen during March break, so, you know, I feel for the teachers right now because they're probably going to feel it this week with the kids. But anyway, hey, happy International Women's Day. All right? My voice is crackly because this is like event 15 for me, you know, and it's busy. I'm not only made history as a Black woman in politics. February is a busy month, and now I'm the Minister for Women. March is a busy month, but it's such a blessing. It's really, really great. And thank you so much, Doctor, for inviting me here. CASA Foundation has been a huge advocate in ensuring that we are investing in programs that are supporting women, but also doing so much for the many women in the room and over the years. So it's Women Inspire 2026, and that's an exciting milestone because we're just continuing and gaining momentum as we continue to make sure that women have opportunities to network. And it's so wonderful to see so many of us coming today together to recognize International Women's Day. You know, it's a time to shine light on the more that needs to happen in order for us to ensure that women have financial independence, that we're ending violence, pushing back against the bias that women experience in the workforce. It's also a reminder of how far we've actually come as well, and the work that we've done to see more women in leadership. You know, our government understands that for women to succeed and reach their full potential, they must first be safe, supported, and empowered. You know, that's why we have been working to protect and support women's services and organizations. In 2022, we signed the National Action Plan to End Gender-Based Violence. That's all provinces across the country signed this commitment and framework for us to then take back and create our own strategy provincially. Now, we moved very quickly because 1 year after that, we presented Ontario Stands, which is Ontario's strategy to end gender-based violence. And we committed $1.4 billion to that strategy. And we are also seeing that organizations across the province have been using the funds that we receive federally to help bolster the strategy, to ensure we're expanding the network of safety services for women, like the Peel Safe Center, for example, and victim services. Now, these programs are helping women flee violence and restabilize, get the support and the counseling they need during the trauma. But we also have to look at how we're going to break the cycle of violence. And one of the threads that I would see throughout my career working in children's mental health and working with the many women who were escaping violence or were trying to rebuild their lives, many of these women did not have the financial and economic stability to make sure they were choosing to live safely and independently. Oftentimes, because they didn't have that stability, they had to choose to go back to the abusive partner. And for me, that is something I don't think any woman should have to choose between. The safe, right, exactly. And so that's why the fifth pillar in Ontario stands is anchored in economic stability for women. I like to say that's where my ministry sits, right? It's the fifth pillar. And so the ministry, and I often chuckle about this because the ministry is called Women's Social and Economic Opportunities. And it's much better than what the ministry used to be called. Does anybody know what the ministry used to be called? No? Women's Issues. And I often say my issues are my husband's issues. You know, it's true because they're family issues, they're economic issues, they're issues that impact everyone. And we all already know, history has already proven that when you make sure women are okay, they have the support that they need. Families are stronger, communities are stronger, and our province is stronger. So we have to invest in women. And so I invest around almost 50 million in organizations across the province that are focused on helping women start to rebuild and become workplace job ready, right? And then I have another area where I focus on workplace training, where women are actually getting certifications. Women are becoming tradeswomen, and I see Rock and Chris here from the trades. I'm telling you, it's an excellent career opportunity. And one thing I love about the trades is that when you get into the trades, just say you have a business background, more women are getting into the trades because the end goal is to be a business owner within the trades. Like I've met women who are, this one woman who owns a whole door company. She started in the trades and carpentry, but now she sells garage doors, and she can understand the specs and all of those little pieces that, you know, I don't understand, but, you know, and is able to sell her product. And so there's so many different aspects of the trades that we want to see women engage in because women do make excellent business leaders. But these programs, the other program actually, and which is why I appreciate CASA's contributions in, is I often heard throughout my travels across the province over the years, is that women need more opportunities to network. Women need spaces where they can collaborate. They always say your network is your net worth, right? Your network is everything to your business and your future. But oftentimes women don't have the spaces, especially when they're in the trenches of developing their business and their future. They are so busy working in the business, they don't have the opportunity to connect with those who are doing the same things. And when women we're natural collaborators. We naturally work well when we are able to bounce ideas off of each other and also realize that maybe I don't need to know accounting 101 in order to get my finances in order. Because I actually had one woman say that to me in a round table. She said, I actually started to do an accounting course because I needed to do my books. And the women in the room were like, but I'm an accountant. Let me do this for you. You don't need to study accounting in order to have that part of your business cared for. But this is us. Women are like, we can do it all. But we have to remember there are professionals who are also women that can support you. And so what I've done is it's created another stream called WELL, the Women's Economic Leadership and Legacy Fund. And that is going to be going live soon. But that fund is going to support high growth sectors, women who are in these sectors where women are underrepresented, where they can connect with other women who have gone through it and who can mentor them and guide them so that we don't have women leaving these sectors. Leaving sectors like the trades, engineering. We need to retain women in these environments, because that's how you change the culture. That's how you ensure that women are in the pipeline for leadership. We know the evidence that when women are in leadership, companies have higher revenues. We know the research that when women are in leadership, 75% of the company is diverse. It just makes economic sense to support women in leadership. Can we clap for that? And so, this International Women's Day, the theme is Give to Gain. So when I talk about giving, I'm talking about giving to women's organizations, giving to the very places where women gather, create, explore, expand. We need to give more to women. And then in turn, women need to give more to themselves. Right? They always say when you go on an airplane, put on the oxygen mask first before you put it on your kids, right? Because you're no use to your children or the people around you if you're dead. Take care of yourself. This is a key reminder that women have to take care of themselves. We need you. We need your expertise. We need your energy. We need your unwavering commitment to any project that you commit to. We need you in these spaces to challenge the bias and the stereotypes that are out there about women, and especially women of color. We need to challenge those stereotypes, and that only happens when we are in the room and we remain in the room. So, celebrate yourselves, celebrate this important day, but then go out and be unapologetic and demanding more. So I want to thank you all so much. Thank you, to the amazing leaders. Alexi Gilmore is the MPP. She's my critic. And sometimes it's so frustrating. But it's all love. This is the beautiful thing about bringing a female energy into politics, right? I don't take things personally because I know the human being behind the message is a good person, right? Yes. And that's what we have to remember, especially as women. What is the point in competing against each other? Because you're only going to decrease the amount of women who are in the room when we do that. Support each other. That whole image of when a woman climbs up a ladder, she reaches down and brings another. Do that. I know I'm not here to be the only one. I'm already helping other women get involved in politics so that they can join me. I may be the first, but I'm not going to be the last. Come on now. We have to support each other. We have to learn how to work together, and don't take on that male competitive energy. Yes, men, I'm talking about the same energy that makes women feel like we need to compete against each other. No, we are here to support each other. But also thank you to the men who are here, because half of the time when it comes to having more women in the room, we need men to step aside or to sponsor another woman to take the leadership position that they had. And that is so important to seeing women in leadership, is that sponsorship. And so if you're a man in the room and you're not threatened by a woman's strength and voice at the table, I appreciate you. I really do. So I'm going to close this because I didn't say a word in it. But I just want to thank you all so much. I always say when women succeed, Ontario succeeds. And trust me, you have a government and people who are here to support you and to see women in leadership. And I always say I'm accessible. I know sometimes people say, "Oh, we emailed you and keep trying." Okay? We'll be able to sit down and keep growing our circle wider and wider, because honestly, women are the backbone of this province in the work that we do get paid for, the work that we don't get paid for, even though we should. We are the backbone of this province. We need you. We need all hands on deck to make Ontario a strong, strong province. And I want to thank you all. And I want to wish you all a happy International Women's Day.
Let's give her one more round of applause. That was amazing. Well, thank you so much for your thoughtful remarks, Honorable Williams. I could hear your heart. I think we all could hear your heart this morning, so thank you so much. Amazing. Thank you. All right, so up next, I am thrilled to invite another esteemed speaker to deliver remarks. So, MPP Alexa Gilmore was elected in 2025. Alexa is the Member of Parliament for Parkdale High Park. She is a lifelong advocate for women's rights and a tireless voice for justice at Queen's Park. With roots in the community organizing and faith-based social justice work, Honorable Gilmore brings compassion and conviction to her role as MPP. She was elected on a platform of dignity, equity, and human rights for all, and those values continue to shape every decision she makes in office. Honorable Gilmore is the Shadow Minister for Women's Social and Economic Opportunities, Citizenship, and Multiculturalism with responsibilities for Ontario Autism Program. So please, come on up, Alexa.
Oh my goodness, wow, okay, wow. Thank you, Dr. Ulu, for this invitation. Charmaine Williams let's just give her another round of applause, because I don't think anybody works harder at Queen's Park. I really don't. You know it's true, right? Got to work twice as hard to get recognized, so yeah. Good morning, happy International Women's Day to all of you. Yes. And the 7th anniversary of Women Inspire Women in the Business Forum. This is so exciting for me because I'm just, I don't know which orientation I am, but I'm just right beside you in Parkdale High Park. And I didn't come to politics through the business field. I came as a United Church minister who kept seeing over and over again families, almost all of them led by women, coming into my office with their kids in tow, and I'd say, "How come your child isn't in school today?" And they'd say, "Well, we didn't have lunch for their kids to be here." And women who were struggling with issues of intimate partner violence. And that's what pulled me into the advocacy space, because so much of my time was out on the front line with placards saying, let us in, let women in. And we know, as Charmaine has just said and others, that when we do, the world is richer. We are better off. Our businesses thrive, and I am so proud to serve Parkdale High Park. It's one of the most diverse communities in the city. We call Parkdale the landing strip because that is where you arrive when you are a newcomer. And so we have these incredible Tibetan businesses led by women. We have Black-led businesses like BAND, the Black Artists Network in Dialogue in Parkdale. We have such an incredible group of leaders who are lifting each other up, are inspiring each other. And it is my great privilege to come to Queen's Park, to be their voice, to, yes, sometimes give the Honorable Williams a hard time, but always in love, always with the belief that this is democracy. When I come and you come and all of us come to the table, we can create a province where each and every one of us can thrive. And so that is what I feel like today is about too. That when you show up, despite the time change, and when you drive all the way from Brampton or Markham or Scarborough, and you come all the way over here to Liberty Village, and you show up next to each other, you can believe, you can trust that when you go home today, you will go home having given and received great things. So I'm just honored to be able to be in your company today. And I wanted to say that at Queen's Park, one of the first things that in this last year that I did was to bring a couple of bills to the table. One is Consent Awareness Week, because I think far too often our young girls are experiencing violence in the school systems, in universities. We also brought First Night, which is another bill that looks at supporting women. And then my very first motion was the Women in the Workforce motion. But I think what I'm most proud of, and I think what you might all really understand and appreciate, is that over in Parkdale, there are 2 schools that are high priority schools. They're the kind of schools where some of the moms who used to come to me looking for money for lunch are in and have the schools are those kind of schools. There are schools who have children who have actually lived in shelters. And so the very first thing I did was start Girls Government. There are 8 children from 2 different schools in grade 8, girls, 16 of them total, doing exactly this. They come together from 2 different schools, Catholic School Board and the English Public School Board, and they meet and they discuss what issues break their heart. And you know what they talked about? Because many of them have lived it. Homelessness. There's 85,000 people homeless in Ontario right now. If we don't build more housing, there's going to be 300,000. That's what the Association of Municipalities of Ontario says in the next 9 years. So they're coming to Queen's Park. They're coming to meet with us in April. They're going to do their own press conference, and they're writing my speech. And they're learning at 13 years of age that they have a voice. So I'm going to leave it there because I'm grateful that there are spaces like this teaching us that we have a voice and that we must use it. And I hope that this is the first of many meetings between me and you, and that you will reach out and help us to be your voice at Queen's Park. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for those inspiring words, Honorable Gilmore. Your commitment to justice and community empowerment truly resonates with all of us here today. Thank you so much for being here. All right, and now it's my pleasure to introduce the next segment of our program, the Women's Inspire Circle, a spotlight celebration of WEEX founders and the amazing organizations supporting their work. This is a unique opportunity to hear directly from the people that are driving innovation, impact, and change for their communities. To guide us through this insightful discussion, we are honored to have Dr. Olitoyan, who will serve as our moderator, and Dr. Olitoyan brings a wealth of experience and deep commitment to empowering women in leadership and entrepreneurship. So this is going to be an amazing, amazing conversation. All right, perfect.
Thank you again. Thank you. Before brunch, of course, we're looking forward to brunch at some point shortly. I wanted to take a moment to recognize some remarkable founders in our ecosystem. For too long, many women groups and those who support them have received limited attention. And so research consistently shows that the lack of resources, capital, and capacity development has hindered scaling, growth, and the ability to pivot. But on important occasions such as this, we're allowed to spotlight a few of us in the room who are doing incredible work in the community. And so today we have some of our WEX founders and some of the groups that support them. I already mentioned TD Bank, but Digital Pathways program is also supported by the Ontario Trillium Foundation to support women to build digital tools, so that their businesses, they can scale their businesses, right? Using digital tools. And so from this group, we have selected 3 extraordinary women and 1 man. And they truly embody the spirit of give to gain. And I just thought this would be the right place to spotlight the work that these three do. And so I'm going to bring you up Garza Amin, the founder of Cavodax. Garza is a blockchain and software engineer, received her first funding, that part funding from CASA Foundation. She was one of the people we invested in last year. The next person is Rokai Goye. She's one of the leaders at UBC Built. As a matter of fact, she leads the Ontario chapter of the Chair of Sisters in the Brotherhood. So where you have predominantly male counterparts doing the work, she dares to stand out and get the work done. Please come on stage, and so we can share with you. And then we have Mr. Chris Otugbemi, the founder of Caris Heritage, one of the supporting organizations providing digital tools to ensure that these women scale their businesses. We have Kim Unye, who is the president of the Youth in Trade Diversification, Youth for Canada Trade Diversification. She's the president of that group. Please come on stage. You'll be here. And then we'll share your stories. Thank you. Thank you. Let's take the stage. Thank you. All right. Now, this is going to be a short session where we listen to the stories of our founders, the selected ones, and let's hear what they have to say. And I'm gonna just give you an opportunity, 1 minute, to introduce yourself. What do you do? Where do you do what you do? Let them know. Tell us again. What do you do and how do you do your work? I'm going to start with you, Rock. Take it on, Rock.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy International Women's Day.
Same to you as well.
Dr. Olu,
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
And it was really great to hear from Honorable Charmaine Williams. I think she's just leaving now, and then Alexis Gilmore as well.
Yes.
For me, my name is Rukaya Gay. People call me Rock. I am a carpenter by trade. So when we talk about carpentry, most people think about building cabinets, houses, or working with wood. But we know not only do that, but we also build the schools, the hospital, exactly in this room where you are. When we talk about from building from the foundation to the roof, framing, so on and so forth. I know this is a building made by the iron workers, but not the carpenters, but all the interior finish, exterior finish, from the roof, so on and so forth, it's done by us. So anything you could walk on that's what we do. So I am currently the stakeholder relation for the Carpenters Regional Council, and as well as the Ontario Chair of the Sisters in the Brotherhood. So it is truly a privilege to be here and to celebrate women. And I know we stand on the shoulders of those who, stood strong, fought, and it's really an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you for coming. How about you, Kim?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Kim Nguyen, and I am the president of Youth for Canadian Trade Diversification. Youth for Canadian Trade Diversification was founded by Dr. Chu Ling Nguyen, who is the chair of Asian Canada Initiative at York University. And the group was created with a vision that to mobilize the global perspective, the energy and the diverse talents of young people, especially young women, to have diversify Canada. And often we see that Canada is a multicultural country, and a lot of young people come from the diverse cultural backgrounds, who can speak multiple languages, who already understand the diverse culture and the multiple packets. But often the ideas, the insights and perspective are underrated and underutilized. And so that's why our group really want to, create a platform where young people, especially young leader and young women leader, can contribute their knowledge and their cultural understanding and network, global network, to support Canada's global trade opportunities. And that's the reason why we try our work every day. Yeah.
Wow, thank you. Right, over to you, Garcia.
Hello, I am Garza Amin, the CEO and founder of Cavodax. Cavodax is the global cross-border payment platform that are facilitating international payments for businesses sending money globally. Right now, we're live in 50 countries across the US, EU, LATAM, and Africa. We participated in the International the African Trade Summit pitch competition, and that also inspired us to expand our scope to Africa. And so we went live in 14 African countries. Thank you so much for that inspiration and for that support. Yeah, and we are innovating in the digital banking space. 70% of our team is women-led, and as you can see, when banks were created, we women were not the architectures. We weren't even the end recipients. We weren't even let, right after they were created, to use the banks. We were completely excluded from that entire situation. And so right now, it's also another reality for us to redefine how digital banking should look like, but also to build it as women. And we're so blessed to be in this position and have this opportunity to build that future of banking, but also wealth, power for women and for the future of what we are. So yeah, that's what we do, and we are so blessed to be a part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, and so we're going to have the gentleman on the stage.
Happy Women's Day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Chris Oduweme. I want to, first of all, be known as a women advocate. Yes. I champion the cause of women passionately. I'm a person a leader of faith, but there's a significant role that women across generations have played. My mom, my sisters. I don't have a girl child, but I have always been endeared to the cause of women over the years, and I would continue to be. Just a little bit about myself. I've been a college professor for over 15 years in Ontario, Seneca College. Thank you, Seneca, Durham, and Centennial Colleges. Been in the training and development space, basically in analytics. I also pioneer a group called Carries Heritage. So we're there to empower the underserved in the society. We started, I believe I'll get into that a little bit more, the Women in Analytics program, which is to offer free training for women in analytics, which will start later this month. That's about it for now.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I'm sure right now you understand why we had to bring them, just to showcase some of the people doing some critical work in our communities, in our ecosystem, particularly relating to the scaling for women-owned and women-led businesses. So for instance, Carries Heritage, can you tell us a little about the Women in Analytics program? I do know that you do some work in digital management, making sure that women learn digital skills. How do you do that, and how do you think maybe some of the women-owned businesses in the room today can learn or glean from that?
Absolutely. For over the years, teaching in the colleges, I've exposed me to a lot of things. I've met so many people that are underserved. And part of that passion is to see how we can channel that knowledge to empowering the underserved, and in particular, the women. So we're starting the program. The links are live. We have well over 100 people that have registered right now to do a training in analytics for free. And that is coming in partnership with CASA. Can you please help me give a big round of applause to CASA Foundation? It's not the first time they're doing it, but this is the first time we're having this Women in Analytics program. We have a full suite learning management system. There will be a certificate that will be issued. There will be course materials provided. And there will be videos that will be given after the whole program, just to empower the skill set of female entrepreneurs, female businesses, or female-owned businesses in Canada and in the world. So that's what we're set to do later this month.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to come to you, Kim. I know that I attended an event, and so Kim is one of the supporting organizations, I would say, And we discovered Kim. I mean, of course, I must mention that I also support and serve some of those groups. But then they brought a group of young women into the room, talking about how Canada needs to diversify its trade partnerships and trade focus and all of that, particularly in view of the geopolitical fractures that we've seen in recent times. And so it was actually quite interesting for me to see a young person, like mobilizing all the women into the room to say, here, this is what Canada needs to do. And so I went into that room as an African, yes, talking a little more about the trade space in Africa and how what we need to do. But then I met people from Latin America, people talking about how Canada actually needs to take the center stage also in Latin America. And I wanted you to share a little about that. Perhaps there would be a few other people. What's the goal of Youth for Canada Trade Diversification? Just in a few words.
Thank you so much for the questions, and thank you so much for joining our event last time. Yeah, so often as I shared before, that Canada has the incredible, young generations, especially young leader and young women, because they are really adaptive. They have academic excellence. They globally network. They're globally connected, and they can speak multiple languages. They are tech savvy with innovative ideas. But you know that we don't have so many organizations to bring them together. And if we can bring them together, we can create a powerful community. And that community can be, adaptive, can be collaborative, and can be, innovative, because those young people they can contribute to shape the Canadian, global trade strategy if we know how to support them and how to open door for them to join the industry. But right now, we think, because most of the time that we only think that trade, feels like international trade or economic development, experience and network really matters. And as the relatively new organizations led by young people, young leaders, young women, we often to work harder to demonstrate that our our contributions and perspective are also valued in their own way. And so that's why that our group is created, so that we can gather the young talent and we can work together and we can connect them with the experts and with the policymakers or business interpreters, so that their ideas and their ideas can truly impact the international trade opportunity. And so that's why we really need the support from experienced young women leaders in the room and the expert across industry, so that who are willing to guide and inspire and open doors for us.
Thank you. All right, Kim. I'm sure they're noting that. Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to come to you, Rock. If you want to tell perhaps the young people in the room, and I must confess, where I came from, they would normally tell us, I'm originally African, Nigerian, before becoming a Canadian. And so they would tell you, oh, it's the job of the male to be a carpenter, to be, certain professions. And so you want to tell the room, the young ladies in the room today, how come you're a carpenter? It takes a new meaning for some people. And what you think they need to do, if you could wrap that up for us, and then we'll just go back and wrap it up from there. Thank you.
Absolutely. When it comes to being a carpenter, the trades is something where it's so rewarding, so lucrative. First and foremost, I wanted to say bonjour tout le monde pour tous les francophones. I wanted to say hello, everyone, to all the French speakers, right, the francophones.
Absolutely.
Parce que d'habitude, directement, je parle français avant de parler l'anglais, mais j'ai carrément oublié, right? Usually, I will speak French first and then say it in English, and I totally forgot today. So I wanted to apologize. Et bonne fête des femmes Vraiment, c'est tout un plaisir d'être ici aujourd'hui. So to go back,
that's
yeah,
fine.
I'm like, oh my gosh, French is my first language, and I'm like completely forgot to
right,
at least welcome my
Yeah.
francophone
Thank
people. And so when it comes to the trades, for me, it was growing up. My dad is a serial entrepreneur, or was a serial entrepreneur because he passed away, and also mechanical engineer. We were four women and one brother. Like I have three sisters. So for him, when he raised us, he didn't look at gender. He made sure that we learned everything. And for me, I was so fascinated about how people who are, just how buildings come about. And when you go downtown Toronto, right, you see the architectural design, the infrastructures. I was just fascinated. And when you travel around the world, like Quebec, completely different. Like all the designs are like European, like it was different. And then you go to different countries. For me, there was something that was always telling, like I was curious to try to figure out who are people behind the scene, designing and bringing this design, just drafting it, the architects, the engineers who are really working with all the materials, so on and so forth. And then I wanted to even know even deeper, who are the people actually bringing this design to life? And then I'm like, you know what? I looked into it, went into George Brown College, graduated in construction engineering technician management. I was over the moon because I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to be a carpenter, get to build this city, the skyline of this city, and get to be driving around and saying I was part of this person, these people who built this. So to my surprise, what I did is, because of childcare concern and the unique hours of construction, I had to change my dream. So everything shattered because I landed a great job to work at Pearson Airport to build, the airport with the brothers and everything. But I was in the middle of divorce. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, so I had to just step away and then try to rebuild myself. And fast forward, like in the meantime, I went into telecommunication, but construction was always a miss. So I went and volunteered for Habitat for Humanity. So I was able to really build around the city, GTA, like townhomes in Scarborough, Roncesvalles, some houses there, and so on and so forth. Did some renovation and wanted to know more, and did also $1 Million Smile, built some playgrounds, renovations. But while I was volunteering and working with so many people in the city, like at Habitat, you had architects coming and building. You had community leaders, entrepreneurs, because we need to network in order to really learn about how do you bring something from the foundation all the way to the roof according to the building code. So that curiosity never dimmed. And when I was at Rogers, I was still doing like the telecommunication. I was still working as a tech person, learning about the non-for-profit, but construction was always calling me. So when I got laid off, I'm just giving you context first. When I got laid off, right away, I ended up Googling to see how can I get into construction, go back to what I love most, which is really construction. So went into it, found Toronto Community Benefit Network, met Chris Campbell, and he's the one who told us to sign up with Carpenters Union. Wow. So with the apprenticeship program, people can join to really learn. Like you come with zero experience, but by the time you finish your apprenticeship, you get to build the communities you live in. Not only we're building the city, the skyline, but you're also building people. You're building our confidence. 90% of the training, you're literally working, getting paid and earning, and the 10% are 3 blocks of 8 weeks that you're doing. So if somebody wants to join, that's what they could do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for those insights. Yeah, I first I met her a couple of times, but when I saw the picture of Rock online I think it was a former Prime Minister, celebrating the work, and she was right there on top of a building, the Prime Minister looking up, and I said, who is this lady? What's she doing up there? Oh my goodness, it was really incredible. And that was when I reached out and said, look, you need to come tell us exactly how you got to do that, and if women are allowed to really do that. I mean, but I'm really glad that you were able to share that. And so I'm going to come back to you guys here. Can you wrap up now and tell us again How can people reach your platform? For instance, what do you think people need to do? Now you're in 14 African countries, you say. What's the best way to reach you? And how can people maximize the opportunity of that platform?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a small, medium-sized business and you're sending money internationally, it's probably costing you 5 to 7% if there is FX or currency conversion involved. If you're using wire transfers, you're also probably facing 3 to 5 day delays. There is not much transparency. If you're paying your employers or employees or suppliers outside, or you're getting paid, there are so many delays in between, and that means real dollars for you being lost in your margins, and you are actually losing money by transacting money. And one of our slogans at Cavadax is that transacting money shouldn't get into the way of making money. It should be as fast as sending someone a text message. It should be as fast as having you to send an intra-key transfer to someone else. But international money hasn't been very fast. And in Canada, unfortunately, we're a little bit behind when it comes to real-time payment rails or digital banking. We are not very much innovative when it comes to fintech. So that's why we are right now working with top 5 banks. We are working closely with our infrastructure here with fintech companies to how to modernize our tech stack solutions, how to modernize our digital banking so we're not left behind. And this also comes at a very critical time where there are a lot of conversations around our monetary sovereignty is at risk. If we don't take steps right now, what is going to happen to us in the future? Who is going to be leading our fintech space, our banking space in the future? How are we going to be innovating? But not only that, our businesses are right now impacted by tariffs. We are having a lot of conversations around, well, we need to diversify. We need to go to different markets. Now, if you are diversifying and if you are exploring different markets, where are you going to start? And for us, we were not as to like, well, we are doers, we're creators, we're builders, we're disruptors, but we also break things. We love to break things because as software developers and as software engineers, we want to build and break things.
Thank
and so
you.
that's,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you, Garcia. I know Garcia can go on and on and on, and I really thank you for your passion. But I've got to go to the next
Yes,
speaker
absolutely.
to wrap up. But of course, we'll still have that time to network. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go to Mr. Chris. Can you wrap up for us and tell us again, how can women in this room scale their businesses by actually taking on some of the digital tools that you're offering? So we'll wrap up with that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm privileged to sit next to a full stack developer, and I love the energy.
All right.
The goal is to have more women like her in the tech space. All right. As a college professor, you not just create a path for learning, you take people who have zero knowledge to the level of competence and mastery. And most of the time when you meet with people, it's, well, can I touch Excel? I can't touch that. I don't like numbers. Power BI, Tableau, what's that? I love this nice graphs, this nice, what is analytics? It's so complicated. Statistics, I don't like it. No. One of the things over the years I've established is to, calm those fears, and within 6, 8, 10 weeks, all right, someone who is zero in all of these areas, they assume a state of mastery and competence through our platform. And that is what we intend to bring to all women. Whether you're in business or you're leading a business, all right, there is a motivational aspect to the training and to the learning where it is practical, where there's intensive hand-holding structure that is put to it, that anyone that signs up will really, really be impacted by the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you. A round of applause again for our founders in the room today. Thank you. We'll wrap it up there. Please reach out to them when it's time for brunch, and I'm sure they can answer some of your questions. Thank you again. That will be the end of it. All right, over to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What an incredible conversation. I definitely want to know more. Absolutely. All right. So up next, we have our first panel discussion on breaking barriers together, giving back to lead in business and technology. This session is going to explore how women leaders in business, government, and corporates can break barriers and scale using capacity development, digital tech tools, and collaboration to empower women while driving innovation and growth. All right, so now I am thrilled to introduce LaTanya Monteith-Huson, Regional Manager for Black Community Business Development, Metro West, and a Woman in Enterprise Banker at TD. LaTanya joined TD in 2017 and has risen through the ranks from Customer Experience Associate to her current leadership role, bringing over 15 years of experience in business development, management, and client advocacy. She is a proud recipient of TD's Vision in Action Awards, TD's highest honor, recognizing her exceptional contributions to clients, colleagues, and the community. Let's give her a round of applause. It's amazing. A Woman in Enterprise Certified Banker, TD Wellbeing Ambassador, and passionate community advocate, LaTanya champions initiatives like the Black Entrepreneur Strategy, TD's diversity and inclusion programs, and mentorship programs such as Each One, Teach One. She blends professional expertise with genuine care and purpose, making her a trusted advisor, a champion for sustainable community growth, and as she describes herself, an atmosphere changer. Love that. Please join me in welcoming LaTanya Monteith-Huson to the stage.
All righty, thank you so very much. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I see a lot of familiar faces in the room, which is amazing, and a lot of beautiful women and men here with us. So before I get into our panel, I just wanted to just give a little bit of a note from TD Bank. It's not a speech, but I just wanted to do it. So on behalf of TD Ready Commitment and my colleagues here at the room, TD Bank, say woo woo. We'd like to thank CASA Foundation for always fostering sustainable development and inclusive growth for youth, women, and entrepreneurs through coaching, mentorship programs, and scholarships. Women's Inspire today and every time that I've attended has always been a great space to meet with role models in industries, and it shows the importance of female or the women's perspective and how it is that we can inspire, empower, and change things. So I'm happy to be here, and welcome to everyone who's here, and I look forward to our conversation. So before I move into our panel, I'd just like to invite our panelists. As I call their name, I'll just read a short bio, and then they'll come to the stage and take your seats. So my first panelist is Alicia Pereira, Vice President, Marketing and Strategic Communications, Ontario's Centre of Innovation. She leads the enterprise-wide strategic communications, digital engagement, public affairs storytelling, and brand strategy for one of Ontario's largest innovation organizations. With a career spanning public service, technology, life sciences, government-funded innovation programs, Alicia has advised founders, policymakers, and public sector leaders on communicating through disruption, navigating polarized digital environments, and building trust with audiences. Known for her ability to translate complex policy and technology issues into compelling narratives, she regularly speaks on innovation, digital strategy, AI, and the evolving relationship between technology, public trust, and influence. Welcome. Our second panelist is Ifa Oyelade. Did I do it right? I butchered her name last time. So Ifa, is a transformational leader specializing in project, program, and portfolio management with a strong focus on digital strategy and enterprise execution. She helps organizations build structure to complexity and turn strategy into measurable results. Beyond corporate leadership, she's passionate about mentoring and community impact, supporting the next generation through her platform, IFA Inspire. Welcome to the podium. And she's the Director of Operations, Transformation, and Delivery at Manulife. And then our final panelist is Vicki Lawrence, Vice President, Security, Engineering, and Development at Scotiabank. Vicki Lawrence has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity and risk management, a passionate advocate for mentorship and innovation. She leads initiatives that strengthen organizational resilience and inspire future leaders in cybersecurity and technology. Wouldn't you agree that we have an extremely strong panel? All right. So thank you all for being here today. I'm just trying to get back to my notes here. Sorry. And then we'll just go into the questions. I'm sure that this will be more of a conversational style. And I'll ask if you have any sentiments on some of the questions that I'll ask, that you just hop in as we move through. So again, our topic is breaking barriers together, giving back to leading business and technology. So the first question to all of you, what was one structural or systemic barrier you encountered, not just personally, but institutionally, and what strategy helped you overcome or navigate it? And we can start with, anyone can start.
I can start?
Yes.
That's no problem. So very excited to be here, and like you said, I would like it to be very conversational, and if my panelists are okay, I would really like to also get the audience's involvement. So if anyone has like any questions at any time, I know we usually wait till the end, but I want it to be kind of like a conversation with everyone. Please feel free to either raise your hand or let anyone who's walking around know so that they can give you the microphone. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I can start. So thinking about this, I can speak about early in my career, especially because it's Women Internationals Day. Something that I noticed very early in my career is you find that traits that are often looked at as positive in men are usually negative in women. So a big example for me was I actually started in law once upon a time ago. So a way, like when we were speaking to some of our clients to especially close deals, was you had to be very straightforward, direct, straight to the point. And usually in men, it's, this is a man who knows how to cut a deal. This is a very good, aggressive man who gets us the decisions, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it was, you need to tone it down a little. You're too aggressive. And I was like, wait, I thought this is what I was supposed to do. I thought this is like, I'm supposed to get us the best rates, the best deals, and my clients still like me, so it's not like I'm forcing it down their throat. But for me, because I was a woman, a Black woman at that, it was seen as negative. So something very early in my career I learned, but at the time I had a mentor who was actually one of the only Black partners at the firm. And I spoke to her about this situation and how I'm supposed to handle it moving forward. Because obviously, I was pretty young, getting feedback from your manager and people above him that you kind of need to scale back in your own personality wasn't good. So luckily, that mentor was able to guide me on actions that I could take and even how to speak in a room full of men early on so that I knew exactly what I was doing. And I think that mentorship throughout my short time in law helped me a lot, guiding me through the different paths that I took.
Thank you.
Hello, hello. Excellent, thank you. Yeah, for me, I didn't know it was a barrier until later on when I was reflecting on my career and how I achieved what I achieved. And early on my career, and actually halfway my career, I didn't have a mentor, neither a sponsor. And I didn't realize how big of an impact a mentor and a sponsor could be until later on when I realized, everything that I have accomplished, it started with that one time that I have somebody who was first a mentor who believed in me before I fully believed in myself. And his belief really amplified and gave me confidence to really focus on what I was doing and really amplify the creativity of the work that I was doing at that time. I was transforming the cybersecurity operations of the organization that I was being part of. And then he later on became a sponsor, which was even better, right? And it was really years later when I was reflecting through my career in a pivotal time of when I needed to do a career choice that I realized, like, wow, really having access to a mentor and sponsors make a big difference. And at that point, I decided to give back and pay it forward. And I have made really a conscious effort to help people around me, both personally and professionally. In my team, whether it's outside my team, it's really anybody who reach out, I make myself available. Probably should try to manage my time a little bit better because sometimes I am busy, but at the end of the day, are those helping others that really help me. And they really having that mentor from a sponsor is a key component because mentor and women can be like are over mentor and under sponsor. And the sponsor is that person that will actually, put their reputation somewhat at risk because they believe in your potential and they believe you are ready to give you that opportunity.
All right, I love that.
So I think I'll talk a bit about a professional barrier that I see happen kind of time and time again, primarily with SME founders, owners, and stuff like that. So generally speaking, from a communications perspective, I always see that there is a technical learning barrier from the business enterprise to the consumer, right? And so what that means is, let's take life science companies, because right now Ontario is really trying to talk about the different innovators that we have in the life sciences, so med tech, health tech, all that stuff. We have about 90% of our life science companies that are coming out of Ontario are female-led. So it's either female founded or co-founded. It's a huge stat. It's the biggest stat that we have under all of the different ecosystems for companies. It's incredible. So the women that we're seeing, and they're funding, they're creating companies that are, as basic as going in to get a female exam, realizing how intrusive it is to the female body. But this was a procedure that was developed 50, 60 years ago by a male that doesn't actually understand the female experience, doesn't actually understand what any of that means. And so you have a lot of companies that are coming out based out of Ontario that are really changing and redefining how women walk through medical procedures. And so when we look at that, when you look at these incredible Ontario organizations and companies, how do you take the technical language that's generally medical technical language and make it easily accessible to any one of us that aren't in that field, that are walking through life and trying to figure out how to kind of access it? And so I think that that's a huge barrier, and the job, I think, of communicators or marketers is really being able to come alongside those organizations, realize that it's a barrier, and say, how can I actually help you get your incredible company, your incredible organization into the view of everybody in a really easy to understand way. And so I think that can kind of go across the board for many different SMEs, but that's a huge barrier that I find is happening with very technical focused companies.
So thank you for that interesting statistic. It's an off-topic question, though, to follow up on that. Given the fact that it's predominantly women that are coming up with these innovative solutions, can you say anything about the level of support that's given to women in that space?
Sure. So, the Ontario government, so the Ontario Centre of Innovation, which is where I work, we essentially are the Ontario government's innovation wing. So they deploy funding to us across different spectrums, and we can deploy it through our Ontario Life Science Network. We have, an advanced manufacturing one. We have about 11 different portfolios. So what the Ontario government is doing, and they have invested 15 million over the course of 3 years through the Ontario Centre of Innovation to deploy into the community, into Ontario's ecosystem to say, hey, let's find more female, funded organizations that are even coming out of the academic institution setting. So they could be really early, but let's invest in them. And let's do bigger investments. So let's do investments of $500,000 to $1 million.
Wow.
So you can actually come to the Ontario Centre of Innovation, look through a life science network program, and and apply to become one of these companies. Now, federally, they're doing even more. But I mean, Ontario-wise, like our goal is to be able to create more jobs, create economic development, help create as many IPs as we possibly can, and keep technology, keep companies that are made in Ontario in Ontario.
Exactly. Thank you, Alicia. The reason I asked is because, and a lot of people in this room, we're in the founder, like we get ideas and we actually are exposed to the founder space, and we recognize that there is a lack of funding. So it was good to know that this is a resource. So for everyone who's interested in that space, please make sure you find Alicia later on in a networking session just to make sure you understand how to access that. So I'm going to flip a little bit now to technology and to ask you personally or professionally, what specific digital tool, platform, or capability do you believe women leaders must leverage today to scale, influence, impact, or drive revenue, and why? And I'll start with Lauren. Laura. Oh, you want me to repeat the question?
Vicky, no, that's me.
Vicky,
right?
sorry.
Vicky, sorry.
Vicky Lawrence. Sorry.
So that's okay, no worries. Yeah, I think nowadays, and you just mentioned, and we're discussing the lack of funding.
Yes.
Something that could really help reduce the expense that people have to do is really leverage generative AI, right? Like really using AI to help you in your business, helping in your voice. There's many different ways that we can use AI to amplify what we're doing at a lower cost. We have to be cognizant that AI is not going to solve all the problems. It's not going to replace your voice. It's extremely important that you really put all the thought. You are the brain behind the operation. Yes. You know your business. You are really the muscle that is and the brain that is driving your strategy. But you can use AI tools not only as a brainstorming solution, for instance, as something to help you in the communication strategy, to give you input, to give you data. You are the expert, you have to validate it, because AI, and depending how you use it, if it's using public information, it could not be accurate, but you are the expert. Yes. And then, you can use that to amplify and multiply what you are doing at a significantly lower cost. And in an environment where women are looking and struggling to get funding in Ontario or in Canada in general, that's an somewhat easier way to actually kind of level the field.
Yes. Any thoughts from you, Ifa?
Yeah, I can go. And it's probably going to be cliche what I say, but building community, which is essentially what we're doing here. So I'm sure everyone's heard the saying of your network is your net worth, but it holds very true, especially as women. So that's where usually that mentorship and sponsorship is going to come into play. But being in places where there are other people like you who have probably done what you're looking to do, who can impact their wisdom, or even just building a community of whether it's founders or other professional women, whatever it is, that is going to highly influence the community that you're in, but also professionally. I know in my professional life, a lot of where I am today and where I will be going has been through just the sheer amount of women who have taken their time to speak to me about the mistakes that they have made while they were doing what I'm trying to do and how I don't make that same mistake. So something as simple as them giving their time, their knowledge, their wisdom, it's highly impactful. So I could also imagine for people who are entrepreneurs or founders, talking to other founder women, like my wonderful panelist here who works at the Ontario Innovation Center who knows all about funding, for example. Some people maybe didn't know about that, but now you know about something just from talking to someone at an event that you went to. So building that community, building that network is going to be highly impactful for whatever you're trying to do, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally, anything like that.
I think the one thing I would add, because I agree with everything, and if people want to talk to me about AI after this, like I've been testing and trying out so many platforms, so I'm happy to get into a conversation about what I think is the best. But I think the easiest thing that everybody at like a very basic level, we can all level set on is get on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, you're already behind, right? And I don't mean LinkedIn in like a very self-promotion way, but it's the best way for you to get your brand out there. If you are a new founder, or if you're someone looking to kind of work on your branding a little bit, I think the best way is to set yourself apart as an expert. So what do you have to offer? What are your tips? What are your XYZ? And slowly you can kind of create your own brand. And then it's a lot easier for you to then kind of go into level 2, which is, selling a product, or, talking a little bit more about your company or whatever it is. So I think at a very basic level, that's kind of what people can do to set themselves up as a subject matters expert, and then more people are inclined to listen to you.
That's true. If you can go ahead, Vicky.
Yeah, I want to add something else on the connection piece, because reality, the connections and networking was what helped me when I didn't have a mentor, right? It was really through the networking, through meeting with peers and with others that I got ideas, and I like kind of peer coaching a little bit, right? So really, the connection help us in every stage of our career, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think too, there's some companies like, TD, we kind of talked about it really briefly before, but some companies actually help to facilitate that. So within your company, try and see, if it's a big company, you might actually have those maiden leadership or kind of mentorship opportunities that you can actually go to, like do skip leadership, where, if you're a manager, it's not necessarily that you're able to get leadership from a director, but you can actually skip a level of leadership and go up to like a VP and maybe meet with them monthly and talk to them about kind of their career journey or what you're looking to develop and get into long term.
Sure. And I also just want to add, don't also ignore the impact of networking with your peers too. It doesn't always have to be, I must talk to a director, I must talk to someone who's 2 levels higher than me. You can also network with your peers, even people who might be below you, because you never know where anyone is going or what value they can also give to you, or even you yourself could give to them. So there's something I like to say is, sometimes when you're in different spaces, you have to influence without authority. So you're not always going to have a specific title to whatever you're trying to do. And that can also be the same thing for the people that you're networking with. So, yes.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to flip it to another viewpoint. So we had just heard from Rock, who is in a male-dominated industry. And fortunately for her, she's found a way and navigated, and now is also creating access and capabilities for women in a male-dominated industry to date. But even in corporate and in most businesses, you still find that the top layer is still male-dominated. And influence will matter in those spaces. So my question would be, what practical strategies have helped you to build authority and credibility at senior tables? And we'll start off with you, Alicia.
So there's 2 things. I mean, one, I think if you build your expertise, if you know that you know what you're talking about, and you can talk about it with experience behind you, I think feel free to say, like, I don't just want, I don't want to be at the table. I want a seat at the table. Like, I actually want, I want to be able to come to enterprise level problems with real solutions, and I want to be heard, because this is the data, or this is what I'm bringing to the table. Like, go all in on yourself. There's nothing wrong with doing that, because you know that women are generally the hardest workers in the room. We also are great multitaskers. We're juggling. Where, before we've all come to this table that we're sitting at right now, we've probably dropped our kids off at daycare, done like 6 different things, while, God love them, our partners are just waking up out of bed and like rolling over to, do their work from home job right now, but I love them so much. So, I think just make sure that you kind of know your worth, and that's the biggest thing, because I think that self-confidence really can help lead you through. The other thing is, for me, at the Ontario Centre of Innovation, we organize Ontario's largest trade show and conference. It's called Discovery X. It's coming up in April, and so I invite everyone to come out. For that, we have like 29 panels. We do like a whole thing. We have keynote speakers. It's really exciting. It's a lot of work to plan. I think for me, it's making sure that we don't have something we call manels, where it's only men experts on a panel, and it's not just putting in, a female for the sake of putting in a female, or a female in a moderating capacity. It's making sure that we can take the time to find, a rock at who's an expert in their field, who can showcase, what's going on in that field. But we also know that is bringing her lived experience, which is diverse, and so it will attract more people. So I think, once you're able to be in those positions, like Charmaine said, make sure that you're like putting your hand out and you're saying, I'm going to bring others along with me to showcase their talents, because you don't look the best if you're by yourself.
True.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to bring others along with you, so that collectively you guys, women, are amazing, and we can showcase that.
All right, thank you. In the interest of time, the last question is gonna be almost like a rapid fire. So very succinct answers, please. So if you had the power to change one policy, metric, or leadership practice tomorrow, to accelerate women into senior roles, or who are in senior roles, to accelerate them further, what would it be, and who needs to take accountability?
Rapid fire. Okay, I'm gonna try and go as quickly as possible. I think for me, it would probably be, the decision really needs to be more focused on the results the person has, because something I did notice, especially the higher you climb, is sometimes decisions for our male counterparts are usually based on the potential they could have. Women don't usually get that benefit of, actually, we see her potential, let's put her in that position and see what she can do. It's usually, you have to work hard, and by the time you are even thought of to put in that position, you have already had to deliver results without having that position.
True.
Yeah, for me, will be making a sponsorship mandatory, like creating actually formal sponsorship programs.
Yeah.
That's based on that the foundational is there, like psychological safety environments are present, because reality is that research shows that some men don't feel comfortable in a gender sponsorship relationship, because they are afraid of saying the wrong thing, or being misinterpreted, or whatever the case might be. So it's really, we have to have that foundation of being safe environment for both women, men, everybody, and then have that sponsorship formalized as a program, not as an, no really knowing what the path is to be on those networking events and be assigned in stretch assignments. So that's really, for me, it's sponsorship.
Good, thank you.
I think it is making sure that those who are getting promoted, it's not just about who's bringing in, the biggest budget, who has the biggest budget. It's about, when you think about leadership, you think leaders are there to inspire their teams. You're a leader because you probably have done that work. You have that kind of experience. But who are change makers? Who are people who can bring different people together, different groups of people together, and actually say, this is how we're going to work together. I'm not going to necessarily be the one doing all the tactical everyday work, but who can lead so that things aren't siloed, and those are the people that you really need to invest in, because those are the people that are going to help to change your organization and to lead it, not to just necessarily bring in money. So both are needed. I think two things can be true at the same time, but you know, you definitely need to have those people who are empathetic. Females are, generally speaking, with the data that you see, are generally speaking more emotional emotional learners. And so I think those are all things that need to be taken into account when you look at promoting people.
Agreed. Thank you so very much. So we're going to close. Unfortunately, the topic, I can tell you, we can talk about this all day long as we iterate from each of our unique perspectives. But one of the things that I'd want to leave with everyone in this room and for the powerful women on stage is that every barrier broken by one woman becomes a doorway for another. When we lead, we lift and give back together. And we don't just change industries, we change what's possible. So give a round of applause to the panelists here. And I wish you all an inspirational day. Thank you again. It was an honor.
That was phenomenal. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to keep the momentum going, and up next is our panel discussion, The Power of Mentorship. And I'm thrilled to welcome Eliza Lakhani, Managing Director, Global Campuses, CEO and Dean of Toronto Campus at Northeastern University, to facilitate the session. Eliza is a transformational leader with deep experience in education, finance, and technology, and she previously led international growth at the DMZ, the world's top-ranked university tech incubator. She serves on multiple advisory boards and is dedicated to empowering the next generation of women leaders. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Eliza Lakhani.
Why don't we just call up the panelists? And since
Amazing.
Rachel,
Yep,
you're
it's
here.
Rachel. Yes, yes.
And so who are the other panelists? Maria and Cheryl. Why don't you come up? All right. Well, because I've been told to keep it moving. So I'm going to keep it moving, and we're going to multitask. Hi. I see some familiar faces. Hi, Olu. Well, first of all, thank you to Olu and the CASA Foundation for, first of all, organizing this fantastic event in this beautiful venue and having me here. I also need to shout out to my team. Where is my team? Over there, the Northeastern University team. And I'm so delighted to see amazing powerhouse women, staff members and leaders, but also some wonderful students here. So thank you. It's so nice to see so many young faces, so many experienced faces, and I love the wisdom that's being shared. So we're just going to get into it, because we are going to get into it.
Amazing.
And I think mentorship is a conversation that a lot of people have. There are people who say, yes, I mentor a lot. There are people who say, I want to have a mentor. But I think what people don't realize, it's an incredible amount of work and intentionality to actually make something work and last. And so why don't we just start with having all the panelists introduce themselves. So Rachel?
Sure, I'd love to.
Please go.
So I'm Rochelle Gil-McCready. So I am the country manager for Zinzino Canada, and I'm also the founder of Ignite Her Coaching. That's me.
Great. Thanks, Rochelle. And Maria.
Yes. Hello. Yeah. My name is Maria Slade. I am the director of Enterprise Vulnerability Management Program, and I'm a technical lead for Scotiabank. And very happy to be here. Hopefully everybody can hear from the back. Yeah.
Great. And last but not least, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm co-founder of Bedard Associates and also of Critical Solutions in Africa. I've worked with Olatoyan since the very, very beginning, when we pivoted in one day from in-person to online because of COVID. Worked very closely. I'm a financial planner as well. And I just want to make one comment. We all talk about the high notes of being women. One thing we all have to do is help share our knowledge, but also help people to get the basics done, because that's where I see the gap.
Okay.
And the basics are sequencing and understanding your business from the ground up.
Okay. I like to go off script. My team knows that. And I think I'm going to build upon what you said. Let's start from the basics. Can you explain, Cheryl, because I know you're an expert, what's the difference between mentorship and sponsorship?
Mentorship is where you don't do the job for them, you support them. So I'm a consultant and I work with clients and I do a lot of work for them and with them. When I'm mentoring, and I do it the fourth Monday of every month, I do mentoring. It's a different atmosphere. I'm not teaching, I'm encouraging, I'm listening, and I'm adding some advice. Find this here, find that there. Where are you? What have you thought about? It's more supporting rather than pulling them up by the bootstraps. So it's a very different attitude when you're mentoring. You're not doing the job for them. You are helping them find the sources and the resources they need to make their business successful. And I'm mentoring right across Canada. So learning the world in Saskatchewan, where I'm dealing with a horse farm, you learn to listen more than talk. You want to find out where they are, what their desires are, what their dreams are. Then you can fill in the gaps. Where I find it is in sequencing. And when I say sequencing, it's, and Lola's going to laugh at me, you put the cart before the horse. So when you're building a business, what comes first? The foundational creation of your business, the business model, not the business plan, the business model, then the business plan, and then you start to build on that. And because I'm a financial planner, I like to talk about financial planning from an entrepreneurial point of view. So those are where I see the gap in success, and particularly because I work in the Black diaspora. And just so you know, there are 1.5 million people in the Black diaspora in Canada. It's massive. And there's a gap there that I've just identified in that we have an assumption that there's a basic level of knowledge. And when you go back into this diaspora and they are new to Canada, there's a gap in our expectation of what they know. So we send them and give them direction as to where they can get that kind of information. And that's how you mentor. You mentor by guiding, you mentor by suggesting, you mentor by asking questions. Then if you want to teach, which I also do, it's a different story.
Great.
I just want to add a little bit of what
Sure.
Cheryl was mentioning. Foundation is key. I know a lot of people here are entrepreneurs. A lot of people are working for companies just like me. And what has been very key for me is getting to the foundation, understand everything from the get-go, so you can have a better view of how to deliver a bigger. Now I lead a program, so it is a bigger delivery. You can have a better strategy. You can have better insights if you understand from the foundation how everything works.
Okay, great. I think, so the way I learn is through very practical examples. And I think what we want to do is give folks in the room some very practical examples. So Rochelle, I'm going to ask you, and you can answer any part of this. Have you been a mentor or a sponsor, or have you been mentored or sponsored? And if so, how did the person approach you, or how did you approach them? Because I'd like to move out of the theory into the actual practical.
Yes, I love that question. And I love it for so many reasons, because it is hard to ask to be mentored. It is. It takes a lot of courage to say, you know what, I need help. I have no idea what I'm doing. And you're really cool, and you look like you know what you're doing, or you've been there before, and I want to know what you know. And that's exactly when I think about the mentor that's come to my mind right now. She's become such a good friend of mine, and it was me really being courageous and brave in a very difficult spot in my career, saying, you know what, I know I have the skills, I know I have the potential, and I have the education, but I don't have the confidence, so I need to go to her and really explain to her, like, what I'm looking from you is X, Y, Z. And I was very pointed about it and said to her, are you willing to support me and mentor me in these 3 areas here? And lo and behold, I mean, now we're best friends, and there's a 20 age gap that's there as well, which is really cool. So her wisdom and just what I'm living and experiencing, it's just been such a beautiful relationship to where, you know, we've brought up double-digit sales. We have taken over, you know, phenomenal aspects of our business. So anyway, so all that to say, I always encourage anyone who's looking for mentorship, know what you want, and it's okay to be scared to ask for that support. It's normal. It's very, very normal.
That's great. So I'm taking away a little bit of vulnerability and be prepared.
Absolutely.
Maria or Cheryl, can you add to that?
If you are afraid to ask a person, LinkedIn also, I'm hooked into LinkedIn and Bank of Nova Scotia as somebody that can do this. So they just go online, and I get an email asking me, will I mentor them? So if you can't find the one person within your sphere, use LinkedIn, use the Bank of Nova Scotia. There are places that will help you actually find the mentor. And I have my list there, and I get these calls out of the blue, and if I have time, I do. Right now I'm full. I start at 10 o'clock in the morning. My last one finishes at 6. So it's a full day of mentoring. That's all I can give is that one day a month. And I'm very organized on it. So I do them one after the other. And sometimes we get a break for lunch, sometimes we don't. But fear is the one thing that stops women all the time. I'm the one with the white hair. I remember when my husband had to sign for me to get a bank loan. So we've come a long way. But we've got a long way to go, and a lot of the long way to go is us. We have to take ownership rather than ask permission. And taking ownership is saying, I need a mentor, where do I find one? Just give you 2, there's a lot of other places. And don't get annoyed if somebody says no. We tend to do this and shrink when somebody says no. But they aren't saying no to you. They're saying no, they don't have time, no, they're not, it's not their sphere. There's a lot of reasons why they may say no. You need to collect those no's and find the yes. And if you keep asking, eventually you'll get the yes that you need. The life is very, it can be very unclear at times. You can struggle, but finding a mentor and working with that mentor can make all the difference to your success, short-term and long-term. And when they become your best friend, that's perfect.
It's the best thing
So,
ever.
Maria, I'm going to actually spin the question a little bit because you work for one of Canada's largest banks. There are a lot of women, but at the same time, one may look up and say there's not enough women. So for individuals who work at a very large organization, what advice do you have for them? Because this is very different than folks who work for small businesses or in the startup space. So
I can give you a little bit of my own experience.
Yeah, please.
I don't have a formal mentor. I have what I call an informal advisory board.
Okay.
Because I'm very fortunate to know a lot of people around my organization that I have built trust and relationships. And not only, and this was also mentioned in the discussion before, it's not only people that are higher up, it's people that are your peers, people that are in different levels that will give you different perspectives that maybe have also gone through the same issues or concerns that you are going through right now. I had great experiences in pivotal times of my career. I was in development. I was like, should I change to cybersecurity? That seems very foreign to me. But in the end, it made a whole difference in my career, made me go through where I am right now. And I am very thankful for people that said, no, you can do it. You just have to trust yourself. And also goes to one point that Cheryl mentioned, you just have to go and try it. Because if you don't get yourself to that spot that you also mentioned at the table, like there's no way that you're gonna get there. So go and look for those opportunities. I also, as a reference, I do get people asking me for mentorship for these advisory boards that everybody has through LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a great tool to meet people that are also in your same field or a field that you want to transfer to. Yeah. That's a great social
So I'm going to be honest, I get probably 100 LinkedIn messages a week. I cannot respond to all of them. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of clutter. How does a young woman or male break through that noise to then get your attention?
You don't have to.
Okay.
LinkedIn has a whole program set up where you can go on and there's a list of mentors. So you're not asking just the general LinkedIn population, which is very cluttered. You're going directly, taking charge, going directly, saying, I need a mentor. It's online. You go to LinkedIn. They give you a list of the mentors who are available with an outline of who they are. And you choose the one you want, and you send it. It's all structured and controlled. And so it's there for you. And Bank of Nova Scotia is the same. So I think one of the problems we deal with, and you just said it earlier, is the clutter. With all of the social media and WhatsApp and all of these different things, LinkedIn, Facebook, goes on and on. The biggest problem we have is clutter. Drilling through that clutter, you have to take responsibility for yourself. It isn't going to be handed to you. It's part of being an entrepreneur or wanting to grow in your business, wherever that may be. But you take control of it. You don't wait for somebody else to give you permission. So if you need a mentor, you go find one. And the way you find one, you should go where there's a list of them. Somebody's already done the work. Use ChatGPT or whatever. Use AI. AI will direct you where you need to go. It's a great source of information. Obviously, make sure it's qualified. But there are great opportunities out there for every one of you in this room to find the right mentor. And it's already been done for you. You don't have to start at the beginning. Just find that way through Bank of Nova Scotia, through LinkedIn. I get calls and I decline because I don't have expertise in that field. In other cases, I will take it only because I've got a broad base of experience. I've lived in 3 countries. So it's really just the mentor's job to identify the needs of the mentee and make sure that you are in a position to be helpful to them. You're not going to be behind the front line with them. And it's really important that you build a rapport. So I have somebody from Turkey who does towels. I have a woman who's South African living in Saskatchewan who's buying a horse farm. I mean, it's all over the place. But the key element is still the same. These are women who want to build a career. They want to be successful in their dream and their goal. And one of the things I am very good at is building the architecture for that. So I often will help them with the architecture of their business and the foundational things that they need to do to be successful so they're not repeating themselves down the road. There's a lot of noise out there as well on advice that is isolated advice. And that isolated advice can be very destructive and cost a lot of money if you don't sequence it properly. You have to identify where you are in your career, where you are in building your business, and you need to determine what the next step is. And don't get ahead of yourself. Because what ends up happening, and this is what I deal with, is fixing those things that happen, that, like building a website before you do your business model. You don't even know what you're selling.
Good point.
These are the kinds of things that I hear and see all the time. The anxiety of I have to show that I'm an entrepreneur. So I do this or I do that. And I'm going, no, you can't do that yet. You're not ready. That's where mentors come in, is guiding people through the step-by-step process, the sequence of building a business. And sequencing is something that I don't hear a lot about here. This is going way, way back to Montreal and New York, working with a Canadian who was out of Chicago, and that's what he did for executives. He's dead now, bless his heart, but sequencing is the basis of your success. You don't run around doing things that other people tell you to do if it's not right for your business or it isn't the right time for your business. So those are key elements that are really, really important to understand in the success of your business and your mentorship. If you're mentoring people, that's one of your key jobs, is to keep the people on track and focused. I find entrepreneurs are wonderful people. They have bright ideas every single day. And I hold a book up and I say, bright idea, you write it down, you put the date on it, but not today.
Right.
Because it's not in the right sequence for what you're doing.
Great.
So these are the kind of mentoring jobs we can pull the reins in and gather people up and get their focus where it needs to be so that they can be successful. That's mentoring.
Great. Rochelle, I see you want to jump in.
Oh, I'm
Jump in.
just thinking, I've been working corporate for 15 years, just really kind of dipping my toes into entrepreneurship. And I think back to when I was 25 years old or 26 years old, just starting my career, and actually not even knowing that EAP has a ton of those services there, that there's no barrier to entry. You can make that call, you can book the appointment. So if you're a corporate employee who's sitting here who's like, I want to get more information, or I want to get career counseling or whatnot, go to your EAP first. You can have a really easy conversation. They set up follow-ups for you. So, use the things that you're actually paying for very much.
Okay.
So that's the only thing I can really wanted to add to that.
I think we're almost at time, so I'm going to do one last question. But first, I'm going to do an audience poll. Who in this room, raise your hand if you're looking for a mentor? Okay.
Yeah.
Now put
quite a
your
few
hands
people.
down. Okay. Now raise your hand if you want to be a mentor. Or are a mentor. Okay, so all the people who raised their hands the first time, look at these very few people, but there's only 3 or 4 people who've raised their hands the second time. So you're gonna have to listen to this next piece of advice. So Rochelle, I'm gonna start with you, and then we're gonna go down quickly.
Yep.
For those, there's a ton of people looking for a mentor. What is one piece of advice you have for them? I think you've given practical advice. You'll go on LinkedIn, which, by the way, I had no idea that LinkedIn tool was there.
I didn't either.
News to me. Okay, but I don't want to talk about practice. I want to talk about habits, right? It's mindset shift. It's
Yes.
how you approach someone.
Yep.
Because I know if someone approaches me one way versus if they approach me another way, there's a way greater chance I'm going to say yes. So what's one thing people need to either do or let go of if they're looking to be mentored? And please keep it short because we've got to be done.
First thing they need to do is actually research the person they want to be mentored by. That is first things first. Second, what is it that you actually want from mentorship? And you have to have tangible, actionable things that you want from that mentorship. What I wouldn't do is expect that everybody's going to say yes and that it's a good time for them to mentor you. So don't take it personally if they say no.
Wonderful advice. Maria?
Second, all of that. And just a quick thing, go with an open mind and not to think that you have to know everything before you go or have all these checkbox ticks that we put in our minds as women, as people that always want to achieve more. We have a lot of those boxes, I know I do. So don't think that you have to have them all complete. Go with an open mind and have a lot of curiosity, because I think that's a main thing for anyone that wants to succeed.
That's beautiful advice, is go with an open mind.
Yeah. And if you're a mentee, one of the things that you need to be is to let go. Be honest, and being honest, I mean truly in your gut, be honest with the mentor, because they need to know where you're stuck. And so having that conversation of where you're stuck, where you really believe you need help, that just helps the mentor zero in on how they can help you. If you're all good in life and life is wonderful, and it's pretty hard to help you. But I really, that sincere, honest discussion is part of, and it's always protected. It's always something between the two. Integrity requires a mentor to keep that information secure, and it's like we don't have any, I do because I'm a financial planner, but it has to be respected on both sides so that conversation can be free, it can be in depth, and it can help. So the conversations that you have outside of that relationship have to be protected.
Okay, great. Wonderful advice from our panel. Thank you all for being here and sharing so much wisdom. And thank you for your service, too. You all are mentors as well, as I understand, so thank you. And with that, I'll pass it back to the MC, which is you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Eliza. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to our guests as well. Phenomenal stuff. All right, well, now I'm going to welcome Dr. Olitoyan back to the stage to share her closing remarks.
Thank you again. That was a great panel. I'm sure I speak the minds of everyone here today when I say we've really had an engaging session with our panelists. What do you say? What do you say, ladies? I do hope I speak your minds. Yeah. So a really, really loud applause for all our panelists, all the speakers, and so on. Such a joy and such an honor to welcome you all, right? And so as we begin to think, as we begin to plan to wrap up, because there's a hot brunch waiting for us out there, and we really want to get on with that. I'm going to invite one of our ladies in the room to do the wrap-up remarks. And I wanted to really introduce Julia to you all. Julia is a visionary in higher education. And she's a supporter of great women, women across vertical industry sectors and so on. We met Julia only last year, but it would seem like, we've known ourselves for much longer. Dr. Christensen Hughes is truly a demonstration of give to gain. We first met at the 6th Women Inspire Forum last year, like I said, and since then it's really grown into a truly exciting partnership. She's a globally recognized innovator who believes deeply in the transformational power of post-secondary education. Under her leadership, Yorkville University has strengthened its commitment to developing ethical, highly skilled, and socially conscious leaders, from business professionals to educators to designers and creative storytellers. She understands something profound. Education is one of the greatest acts of giving. When institutions commit to integrity, excellence, and purpose-driven learning, society gains thinkers, builders, healers, and innovators. And so, Dr. Hughes, thank you so much for leading with vision and ensuring that education does not merely inform minds, but shapes character and transforms communities. Ladies and gentlemen in the room with us today, it's my honor to invite the President and the Vice Chancellor of Yorkville University. Thank you again for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, and what an absolute pleasure it is to be with all of you in the room. And I shout out to the Yorkville table over there with our faculty and students. Thrilled that you could join here today. Last year I was just so inspired by the messages and couldn't have been more pleased to be invited back, and how our associations have strengthened the relationship, providing remarkable opportunities for our students. As an educator, when I'm asked to speak in an event like this, I do aspire to educate. So I'm going to share a little bit about the history of International Women's Day. How many of you in the room feel really confident that you know where this remarkable day came from? Okay, see, I knew. There's a few, thank you. You can fact check me as I go through this. So International Women's Day was first celebrated in 1911 in several European countries, with over 1 million participants advocating for what? Any guesses? The right to vote, absolutely, called suffrage, the women's suffrage movement, as well as labor rights and the ability to hold public office. And I'm so delighted that we were able to hear from so many female elected representatives in the room today, really inspiring. Now, why is to vote important? In truth, I think it's something we've become a little bit complacent about. that we've begun to take for granted when I look at the percentages of Canadian population that show up to vote. But at one point, the right to vote absolutely transfixed women the world over, because the right to vote meant you had a voice, a say. You were recognized as having an opinion that mattered. And we are seeing clearly in the world today, and honestly, as I was reflecting on everything happening in the world over the weekend, I really wondered what I felt it would be very important to share with you today. And I think we are seeing the staggering impact on the experience of citizens, on the safety and opportunity of women and girls, both at home and internationally, depending upon who elected officials become. Now, in Canada in 1867, at the time of Confederation, it was made very clear that to vote, you must be a male British subject, have committed your loyalty to the Crown, you had to own property, and have never been convicted of a crime. So those were the conditions to have influence in society through your vote, the people that were considered most appropriate to direct the future of the country. Now, much earlier, in the 1700s in Quebec, some women had voted, including 27 Mohawk women, members of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, because the rules said you had to be a person to vote, and they thought they were. This apparent oversight was later corrected by legislation, ostensibly to protect women from, quote, the dangerous conditions at polling stations. Now, black men won the right to vote in 1837 following emancipation, but not black women. So remember this as the founding of Canada is celebrated, that women did not yet have the right to vote, to hold office, or even to be regarded as people under the law. And no woman was yet to attend university in Canada. But in the early 1870s, one woman did, Gracie Ann Lockhart. She graduated from Mount Allison in 1875, the first woman to graduate from a Canadian university. Can you imagine? Can you imagine her courage to be the only one in the room? Now, we heard about being the only one in the room from Honorable Charmaine Williams and Alexa Gilmore and others who have presented. How many of you have found yourself being the only one in a room? Yeah, lots, right? Or one of a few. And how challenging is it to find your voice, to sort out how you want to present yourself? We heard some of that from the last panel. So in my own career, I will share that I'm 67, so the 60s and 70s were pretty influential years. And when I was in high school wondering what kind of career I would pursue, most of my girlfriends aspired to become nurses. Not that there is anything wrong with that. But I didn't see the role models for my aspirations. So ultimately, I decided to study business, but in a hotel and food administration program at the University of Guelph, because in my brain at the time, I thought, well, that's about food and service and hospitality, and that's a job that I think a woman could do. Representation is powerful. In many ways, we may never know how it's impacting our sense of ourselves or the future roles we might hold. Certainly, I could never have imagined the career that I've had, including becoming a founding dean of a business school and now a president of a university. Now, my first job was as a manager for keg restaurants. How many people enjoy the keg? Okay, a few, right? At that time, all roles were gendered. If you were a man, you got to be a waiter, and if you were female, you were a cocktail waitress. Highly gendered roles. I was one of very few women who was a manager of a restaurant in the company at a time. And I remember I really struggled. I didn't know how to dress. Many of the men wore cowboy boots and jeans and cowboy hats. This is true. What did that mean for me? After 3 years, and I'll never regret my experience with the keg, the amount of responsibility they gave me was phenomenal. And I did get to learn about the basics of business, so thank you for that. But I had lots of questions. I had lots of questions about the role of business in society. I had significant concerns about the young people who I saw becoming addicted to drugs and alcohol. So I started to question very profoundly, why is it the case that a business can be considered so successful in very traditional measures, but to not be successful in terms of social impact? So I went back to school, did an MBA and a PhD, and studied that issue. I wanted to understand the disconnect between what organizations espouse to be and what is enacted when you see the behavior of the people influenced by the system they've encountered. I'm going to head back to history again for a moment. That woman, Gracie Ann Lockhart, who was the first to graduate. An 1876 account from Queen's University's journal reflected the attitudes she undoubtedly confronted. In this particular issue, they wrote, "We are confident that among people who appreciate the delicate grace and beauty of women's character too much to expose it to the rude influences, the bitterness and strife of the world, few will be found to advocate her admission to universities." So that is what she encountered. But her attending, her willing to be the first, opened up opportunities for all of the women, including myself, who followed, and not only to become a student, but to become a leader within the system. Now, in the 1880s, Emily Stowe formed the Toronto Women's Literary Club, which became the Toronto Suffrage Association in 1903. Now, when was this building, this beautiful building we're in, built? Does anyone know? I think it's 1925. Yeah, so this was happening. We are in a space, we're in a historic space. So imagine the women who might have gathered here back in the days. These women were feisty. I love feisty women. And they were advocating not only for the vote, but for improvements in education, healthcare, and employment, as well as an end to violence against women. And I really love the messages we've heard here today, that if women do not feel safe, if they do not feel secure, how can they possibly thrive? So in the years that followed, some, but not all women, slowly won the right to vote. And in 1921, Agnes MacPhail was the first woman elected to the House of Commons in Ontario. So a remarkable achievement. Again, the first. Somebody willing to be the only in the room to create pathways for women who would follow. In 1929, women were legally recognized as persons in England, which overturned a Canadian Supreme Court ruling that said we were not. In the 1940s, Chinese Canadians and South Asian Canadian women won the right to vote, but it wasn't until 1969 that all Canadians, regardless of gender or race, including Indigenous women, were allowed to do so without condition. 1969. So as I shared, I grew up in the 1960s and 70s in the time of so-called women's liberation, yet there were so many barriers to full participation that remained. How many of you spent the weekend reading social media posts about the accomplishment of women? I mean, I'm all over LinkedIn. I got to tell you, my feed was full of remarkable stories. And one I had recalled only vaguely, but if you want a story to either horrify you or inspire you, in 1967, Catherine Switzer was the first woman to officially run the Boston Marathon. She had officially registered. A woman had run the time before, but had sort of snuck into the race. She registered, but using just her initials. But she wore lipstick. She wanted, I think, the organizers to know that she had got there. You can see online photos of race director Jack Semple, who was so furious to discover that a woman dared to run in the race that he jumped out, tried to physically grab her and tackle her to force her out of the race. Unbelievable. Now, she was running with her coach and her boyfriend, who was very athletic, and he managed to get director Jack Semple out of the way so she could finish her race. The first, again, opening the door to others to follow. So this is interesting. I've been intrigued to hear we've been talking about women's health and the needs to understand how women are different, but there's also ways we are also the same. In the 1960s, doctors claimed endurance sports were too demanding for women, that women lacked the necessary endurance, that rigorous training could cause their uteruses to fall out, make them infertile, or alter their appearance by making them more masculine. Okay, so that's your history lesson leading up to the time that I was in high school and wondering what path my career might take. So in the 1970s, I lived in Burlington, Ontario, not too far from here, and I had a part-time job at Canadian Tire, pumping gas and checking for oil. And I was paid differently than my male counterparts because that was the law, right? One rate of pay for men and one for women. Did you know that? That was the law. I'll never forget when a high school gym teacher came up to me with great excitement to share that the high school was moving forward and allowing women to play soccer, and did I want to sign up? And I was enthused. A group of girls, we all got together to be told that the name of the soccer league was the Powder Puff Soccer League. And perhaps that is why the joke recently made inviting the 8-time gold medal winning women's U.S. hockey team to the White House landed so very heavily with so many of my generation. We remember clearly the time that we simply were not welcome to play, or if we were, it was seen as a joke. Now, I've had a lot of privilege. My parents were immigrants. They came from Britain. I grew up in a middle-class home, and I always knew I would go to university. So as I shared, I did go for my BCom, my MBA, and PhD, but I'll also share that during my MBA, I decided to leave my husband, and I had 2 little boys that I was raising as I went to school. My daughter was born during my PhD. And what I decided to study in my PhD was empowerment, agency. I think I've always had concern for social injustice. Somehow it was just in me. And I wanted to understand how it was that some people's voices mattered more than others. So I was hired as an assistant professor in 1987. Now, we were talking earlier about mentors, and I shared, I don't think I've ever had a mentor, but oh my goodness, if I had some powerful role models, and I've had sponsors. And it was actually a professor I had in my last year that arranged for me to have the interview that resulted in me being hired as an academic. Now, I shared that I had this interest of the disconnect between espoused vision and enacted reality. And I'll never forget one day walking across campus when I had a penny drop moment. And that was that the university as institution was as dysfunctional as any of the for-profit organizations I'd studied, including the hospitality industry. And so I became a self-declared higher ed disruptor. And it inspired my career. I was the troublemaker. And so when I was an untenured faculty member and a senior male professor came to me and said, "Julia, you're ruining your career. You're starting to get a reputation," I froze and I said, "For what?" And he said, "For caring too much about students." people won't take you seriously here if you do. But I carried on. For 10 years, I ran a center to teach faculty how to teach in empowering ways that would give their students agency. I became president of a national organization that brought committed change makers in higher education together. And after 10 years of that, the university said back in the tent, "You're having too much fun throwing rocks at us. Time for you to understand how what you're advocating for is so difficult." So I became a department chair and then the founding dean of the Lang School of Business and Economics at Guelph. Now, as I was, thank you. Oh, and teaching students ethics and integrity and business that takes a long-term view and offers products and services that the society actually needs. Now, because I've had the pleasure of having many feisty women in my life, I found myself as the +1 to my best girlfriend, Anita Stewart, who'd received the Order of Canada for forming Food Day Canada, initiative to recognize farmers and fishers and cooks who were cooking like a Canadian. And at that event, I won't say who, but we met up with a well-known journalist who'd received the Order of Canada a few years earlier. He was there with his father. And when I was introduced to the father, I'd been on the journalist television show being interviewed, so we knew of each other. Now I'm introduced to his father as a business school dean. And honestly, he looked astounded. He looked completely perplexed. And he said loudly, "What? They couldn't find a man?" I looked to the journalist to see if he'd say anything. And just like most of those men's US hockey players, he didn't. I'm not always good at situations like that, to come back with a clever quip. But that day, I think I did. I took a deep breath, looked him straight in the eyes, and said, "Oh, they weren't looking specifically for a man. They were looking for someone who would make a great dean, and fortunately, they found one." So, I've been blessed in my career, 35 years at the University of Guelph, vice chair of the Canadian Federation of Business School Deans. I will say that was an audience that I was one of few, invited to address the United Nations in New York City on behalf of business schools that were teaching alignment with ethics, integrity, and the Sustainable Development Goals. And now as I shared president at Yorkville, I have been so blessed. And through all of that time, I was driven by purpose and a perspective of the women in my family who had always aspired to make a difference. And I'm so proud that now at Yorkville, the vast majority of our students are women, as well as our executive team. 75% of members of the executive at Yorkville are women, and that outstrips the national average of 30%. We also recognize that the traditional university does not serve all women. Many women face incredible barriers to study. So the majority of our students are earning graduate degrees while learning online in an asynchronous format supported by local placements, local practica, which means we attract women from every province and territory in Canada without having to leave home, without having to say goodbye to family and support networks. Okay, I'm going to end with three quick references to what I read on LinkedIn yesterday that really moved me. One was from PM Mark Carney, acknowledging that democracy and women's progress is under threat. This is the first time I've given addresses such as these where I have felt so very worried for the progress that's been made and where are we heading. Carney's advice is we need to be vigilant and remember the progress made was due to brave women and their allies who demanded equality. The second was from a woman named Monica Federico. If you want to find any of this, you have to follow me on LinkedIn because I did comment on all these posts. 60% of Gen Z men across 31 countries believe women's equality discriminates against men. That's an ISPOS 2025 poll. 44% of Gen Z men think women earn less because they are less competent. We've heard over the course of the morning that nothing could be further from the truth. And women over 50 are 32% less likely to be promoted than men of the same age, despite being on average 18% more productive. That's the World Economic Forum. But the third one I'm going to share, and I'm going to read a little bit exactly, because this gentleman, Armand Baum, who is the head of social impact at Stellenbosch Business School in South Africa, wrote incredibly provocatively. He said, March 8th arrives each year with flowers, hashtags, panel discussions, and corporate emails carefully drafted to celebrate resilience. We celebrate strength, we celebrate progress, we celebrate how far we have come, and yet there is something uneasy about celebration when the burdens remain so unevenly distributed. Because women do not merely work, they carry institutions, they carry households, they carry histories, they carry expectations that are so normalized that we rarely stop to name them. But perhaps the greatest disservice of our public conversations is that we often speak as women as though they exist outside of history, race, class, disability, geography, and culture. As though womanhood is a single experience, it is not. The woman navigating a boardroom in Sandton does not carry the same weight as the woman navigating a factory floor or a clinic queue or a township classroom. The Black woman navigating corporate leadership does not experience gender in isolation from race. The woman with a disability does not experience gender separate from accessibility. The working class mother does not experience ambition separate from survival. Intersectionality is not a fashionable theory, it is a lived reality. We have made progress in representation. More women sit at executive tables, more women occupy academic posts, more women lead institutions, and this matters, but representation alone does not dismantle structure. And he goes on and on. I'll just end with his sort of final words. If we are serious about gender equality, we must move beyond celebration into structural honesty, and I know that's what the CASA Foundation is committed to helping achieve. It should be a day on which we ask ourselves not whether women are strong enough, they have always been strong enough, but whether our workplaces are courageous enough to change. Because the question is no longer whether women can carry the weight. The question is why they are still expected to carry so much of it alone. And on this International Women's Day, I want to recognize all of you for the burdens you are carrying, the courage you are showing, as well as the women and girls the world over who are navigating war and physical violence and are somehow summoning the ability to keep going. Thank you.
I don't know about you all, but I have goosebumps. Can we get another round of applause, please, for Dr. Hughes? My goodness. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you, oh my gosh, all that information about International Women's Day. I had no idea. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your inspiration, your passion. We so appreciate you. Very grateful. Thank you. Amazing. So as we come to the close of today's program, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you on behalf of the CASA Foundation for International Development for being part of Women Inspire 2026. And as we come to the close of today's program, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you on behalf of the CASA Foundation for International Development for being part of Women Inspire 2026. Your presence, your ideas, and the conversations you've shared today are truly what brings this forum to life and why it's so important. Events like this remind us again how powerful it is when women come together, not just to learn, but to exchange perspective, challenge ideas, and support one another's growth. And before we conclude, I want to acknowledge the incredible team at CASA Foundation for who's made all of this possible today. Please give them a round of applause. They are incredible. Your dedication, Your hard work and attention to detail are what made this event such a success. And to everyone at the CASA Foundation, thank you for your trust and for the honor of, or for having me as your MC for this year's program. I am so honored. Thank you so much. I'm so appreciative. My cup, I can tell you, is truly overflowing. And again, I am just so deeply grateful. So while our formal programming has come to an end, the conversations certainly don't have to stop here. I encourage you to stay, enjoy your brunch, connect with somebody new. That's what it's about. We have time to network, of course, and mingle, and continue building the relationships that began today. Because we know that leadership is never built in isolation, but we know it's built in community. And if there's one thing I hope you carry with you after today, it's this. The real impact of today isn't just what happened in this room, it's what each of you chooses to do once you leave it, right? It's what you're gonna do when you go home. It's what you're gonna do when you go back to your workplace, your communities. That is when your leadership matters the most. The energy in this room, we know it's been powerful, we know it's been incredible, right? We have shared today, we have collaborated today. But what matters most is how you choose to carry that energy forward, because this bubble only lasts for so long. And when women lead with intention every day, we know that that impact is exponential. So thank you again for being here and for contributing to such an inspiring day. We look forward to welcoming you back next year. And additionally, I am pleased to announce that brunch is officially open. And please help yourselves to a delicious meal. Again, take this time to network, to connect, stay in this bubble of positivity and continue building meaningful relationships with our industry leaders, professionals, and peers. And before you go, I want to highlight a couple things that are upcoming. So Friends of Africa Economic Summit, so October 2026, so please register via the QR code on the screen. I think it'll be popping up here in a second. And then Women Inspire 2027. Okay, we want to see you back here the same time, the same day, the same energy next year, right? Who's going to come next year? All right. Again, we are going to continue these valuable conversations. I believe we're going to have another QR code that's going to come up on the screen. So for more information, please feel free to visit the team at the welcome desk or at the registration area. Thank you again. Enjoy your lunch. Take care. We'll see you soon.